is great. All right. Proverbs chapter 3, let's call this one, My Son, Do Not Forget. Understanding that this psalm may take shape around three do not statements. The first of which being the one we've already mentioned in verses 1 through 4. Do not forget my teaching, as in verses 11 through 12. He is going to call his son not to despise the Lord's discipline. Understanding that's a phrase that's going to be recited in the new covenant as well, in the context of acknowledging that discipline is not fun. But he is going to go on in roughly verses 21 through 32 to say, do not lose sight of these things that he is going to list in those verses, not the least of which being actually in the next set of verses, verses 33 through 35, a list of things that the Lord considers blessed and also cursed. But breaking the verses down a little bit more slowly or in more detail, in verses 1 through 4, he is going to say, do not forget my teachings, but keep my commandments, for in them are additional length of days and years, and beyond length, quality in the form of peace. Steadfast love and faithfulness lead to favor and success, not only before God, but before people. So he's going to say, do not neglect those. Likewise, trust in the Lord with all your heart. In a famous passage that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Some translations will say, as another famous passage will go on from verses 9 and 10 to say, honor the Lord with your wealth and your first fruits. Then your barns will be full and your vats will burst with wine. As he will go on in, like we said, that second do not statement to say, do not despise the Lord's discipline in verses 11 through 12. Understanding that it leads to certain blessings that don't necessarily seem to go along with the pain of discipline. But nevertheless, Solomon's going to help us to understand that the one who finds wisdom, sometimes the wisdom that comes through discipline, has a whole list of things that I'm not going to take time to name, but he is going to describe those benefits in roughly verses 13 through 18 as a woman, contrasted to the adulterous woman he has already described. This time, he is going to seem to describe wisdom as a woman that comes with a tremendous number of benefits, as opposed to the tremendous number of liabilities that came with the adulterous woman, as he goes on in verses 19 and 20 to say that by wisdom, the Lord created, once again, a whole host of things, basically helping us to understand the way in which God leads by example. He is not using wisdom as some sort of tool to constrain us, but he's saying wisdom is good for us because wisdom was the way in which God accomplished amazing things. As he will end the chapter, as we said, in roughly verses 21 through 35, saying, do not lose sight of these, sound wisdom and discretion, as they will lead you among other things to places where you will not need to be afraid, as he will go on to list another set of do nots that kind of form additional counsel to his son, as he will say, do not fear sudden terror as it comes upon the wicked. Do not withhold good. Do not, my paraphrase, stall when you have the ability to help a neighbor who is in need. Do not, even worse, plan evil against your neighbor. Beyond that, do not contend with someone for no reason. Likewise, do not envy the violent, those he is going to further describe as devious, a similar description to what he used in chapter 2, as he will go on, as we mentioned, in verses 33 through 35 to talk about different things that the Lord considers blessed and cursed. As he will go on to say, cursed is the house of the wicked. However, God blesses the house of the righteous. Even more, he is scornful to scorners, but he shows favor to the humble. Finally, the wise inherit honor while fools get disgrace. The thing that probably stood out to me most in this chapter being that warning, do not lose sight. Understanding that in chapter 2, he talked about the value of seeking and searching in a way that seemed reminiscent of the Hebrew writers' warning or advice, rather, to basically diligently seek God to understand him. This, in contrast, is helping us to understand the flip side of that. Again, what we might describe as the opportunity cost. This time, the opportunity cost of staying in shape. Understanding that if you have ever run into a period of your life when you just couldn't commit to something the way that you would like, whether it's staying in shape, whether it's staying on top of a business matter or a personal matter, then you probably understand what it's like to suffer the opportunity cost of recovery. And so in this proverb where Solomon issues 3 do nots: do not forget his teaching, do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not lose sight of sound wisdom and discretion. He seems to be guiding his son away from the opportunity cost of recovery.